Marcus Allen stepped out of his sleek black car and looked around the parking lot of the car dealership. It was a sunny afternoon, and the air was warm but pleasant. The building was not very big, but it looked well kept. There were several cars, lined up outside, shiny and ready to be sold. Marcus had been away from this town for many years, but now he was back. He had spent years working hard, building his own business far away, and recently he had secretly bought this very dealership. No one knew yet. Marcus wanted to see the place with his own eyes before telling anyone that he was now the owner. He walked toward the entrance with calm confidence. His clothes were neat but simple, a dark shirt, nice pants, and polished shoes. Marcus was a tall man, with a calm but serious expression on his face. He looked like someone who was used to people paying attention to him, but today he wanted to go unnoticed. He hoped to observe how the staff treated customers and how the business was running day to day. That was important to him because he wanted to make changes but needed to know the reality first. As he pushed the door open and stepped inside, he noticed a few heads turned toward him. Some people glanced at him quickly, then looked away. The salespeople and the receptionist seemed busy, but there was something in the air, a slight tension or discomfort when they saw Marcus. He tried not to show that he noticed, and walked calmly to look at the cars inside the showroom. He felt eyes on him, but no one greeted him or asked if they could help. It was as if he was invisible. At the far end of the room stood Rick Saunders, the dealership manager. Rick was a middle-aged white man with a loud voice and an even louder attitude. Marcus had heard about him before buying the dealership. Rick was known for being tough and sometimes rude, especially to certain customers. As Marcus moved closer, Rick's eyes narrowed and his face hardened. Without even introducing himself or asking Marcus's name, Rick stepped forward and blocked his path. "What are you doing here?" Rick demanded loudly, his voice echoing in the showroom. "This isn't a place for hanging around if you're not serious about buying a car." Marcus was surprised by the hostility. He kept his voice steady. "I'm just looking around." Rick's eyes scanned Marcus up and down with a judgmental glare. "Look, we don't want troublemakers here. If you're not going to buy something, you should leave." Marcus was quiet for a moment. He wanted to explain that he was the owner now, but he decided to stay calm. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said calmly. "I just want to see how the business runs." Rick wasn't convinced. "Look, buddy, I'm telling you one last time. Get off the property before I call security." The words hit Marcus like a sudden cold wind. He felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could someone treat him like this? And all because of how he looked. Marcus had faced many challenges in life, but this moment was sharp and painful. Yet, he did not lose control. He simply smiled, turned around, and walked out. Outside, Marcus took a deep breath. He looked back once at the building, his eyes thoughtful. No one knew he had just bought the place, not even Rick. Marcus's mind was racing with ideas and plans. He decided he would not react in anger but instead use this moment to make a real change. Inside the dealership, Rick was already telling the staff about the man he had just kicked out. Some employees exchanged uneasy glances. Jenna, a young salesperson, watched quietly. She had seen Rick behave this way before, and it made her uncomfortable. But she was also afraid to speak up. The dealership had a culture where respect was not always given to everyone equally. That afternoon, Marcus met with the team who had helped him buy the dealership. They sat around a table covered with papers and contracts. Marcus told them what had happened. "I want to see how things really are before making any decisions," he said. His advisors suggested that he act quickly, maybe fire Rick immediately or announce the new ownership. But Marcus wanted to be sure. He wanted to show that respect must be earned and given to all people, no matter who they were. Days passed. Marcus returned to the dealership several times, always observing quietly. Each time he saw the same attitudes, the same tensions. Rick ran the place like his kingdom, judging customers and staff by their appearance. The employees whispered among themselves, some hopeful that things might change soon, others scared about what that change would bring. Marcus prepared himself for the moment when he would reveal the truth, that he was not just any visitor, but the owner. He knew that moment would change everything. But for now, he remained patient and steady, watching from the outside, hidden in plain sight. After his first visit to the dealership, Marcus Allen sat quietly in his office, thinking about what had happened. He had come into the dealership expecting to be treated like a visitor, maybe even with a bit of respect. Instead, he was treated like an intruder and kicked out without a second thought. The memory of Rick Saunders' harsh words stayed with him, but Marcus did not let anger take over. Instead, he used that moment to fuel his determination to change things. Marcus knew he needed advice, so the next day he called his lawyer and a few trusted friends who had helped him in his business journey. They gathered in a small conference room in a nearby cafe, papers and laptops open on the table. Marcus explained everything from his surprise visit to how Rick had treated him. His lawyer looked serious as he listened. "Marcus," the lawyer said, "you have every right to take action now that you own the dealership. You can remove Rick immediately if you want. But if you want to make a lasting change, it's better to plan carefully." Marcus nodded. He wasn't in a rush to make a big scene. He wanted the staff and the community to see the real difference in leadership. His goal was not just to fire one man, but to create a respectful and welcoming place for everyone, customers and employees alike. For the next few days, Marcus stayed busy but kept the dealership in his thoughts. He didn't visit the showroom again just yet. Instead, he spent time learning everything he could about the business: sales numbers, customer reviews, employee reports, and even complaints that had been made. What he found was not surprising, but still disappointing. The dealership was losing customers because of poor service and a hostile environment. Employees felt unappreciated and scared to speak up. Meanwhile, at the dealership, life went on as usual. Rick Saunders continued to run the place with his usual strong hand. He was loud, quick to judge, and often rude to customers, especially those he saw as different or difficult. Several employees whispered about his unfair treatment, but most stayed silent out of fear. Jenna, a young salesperson who had worked there for just a year, felt torn. She liked her job but hated how Rick treated some people. She had noticed how he ignored customers who looked different or were from other neighborhoods. One afternoon, Jenna was helping a customer who had just walked in, a middle-aged woman who was looking for a family car. Rick watched from across the room and suddenly walked over. "Is this really the kind of customer we want wasting time?" he sneered. Jenna felt embarrassed and angry but stayed calm. She politely told Rick that every customer deserved respect. Rick laughed loudly. "You're new here, you'll learn. This place isn't for everyone." That evening, Jenna confided in a coworker about how hard it was to work under Rick. She wished there was a leader who cared about fairness and respect. Little did she know that leader was already there, watching, waiting, planning. Back in his office, Marcus made a decision. He would return to the dealership soon, but this time he would do it differently. He would not be just a visitor. He wanted to meet the staff, understand their struggles, and tell them about the future he planned. But first, he needed a clear and strong message, something that would change the atmosphere completely. Before his next visit, Marcus worked closely with his legal team and business advisors. They discussed the best way to announce the change in ownership and how to handle Rick's behavior. Marcus wanted to be fair but firm. He knew firing Rick would send a strong message, but he also wanted the staff to understand why this was necessary. As the days went by, rumors started to spread quietly among the dealership employees. People talked about the new owner who had bought the business but had not yet appeared. Some were curious, others were nervous. What kind of leader would Marcus be? Would he be different from Rick? Jenna heard the rumors and felt hopeful. She wished for a fresh start, a place where people were treated with kindness and respect. She wasn't sure if Marcus would really bring that change, but she wanted to believe it. The community outside the dealership also noticed changes. Some customers who had stopped coming began to wonder if the place would improve. They remembered the stories of poor service and hoped the new owner would do better. Marcus knew that winning the trust of the community would take time, but he was ready for the challenge. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to prepare. He studied the customer feedback carefully and planned new training programs for employees. He wanted everyone to understand that respect and fairness were not just nice ideas, but essential values for success. When Marcus finally decided to return to the dealership, he was ready. This time he dressed casually, not to impress anyone, but to blend in. He carried legal papers proving his ownership and a quiet confidence that came from knowing he was about to change things for the better. On his arrival, Rick saw him immediately and recognized him from before. Rick's face twisted into a sneer. "You're back. What now?" Marcus smiled calmly but did not answer. Rick stormed up to him and started mocking him loudly, calling him names and threatening to call the police again. But Marcus stayed calm and polite. Then, without raising his voice, he handed Rick an envelope. Rick looked confused and angry. He tore open the envelope and read the papers inside. His eyes grew wide. The documents were official. Marcus Allen was the new owner of the dealership. Rick's confident face changed into one of shock and fear. The employees around them watched quietly, surprised and curious. Marcus turned to the staff and introduced himself properly for the first time. "I am Marcus Allen, the owner of this dealership," he said clearly. "I am here to make sure everyone is treated fairly and with respect." Rick tried to deny it and make excuses, but Marcus was firm. "Your services are no longer needed," he told Rick. The words were quiet, but carried power. The staff began to whisper excitedly. Jenna felt a wave of relief wash over her. She looked around and saw others nodding quietly, hopeful for the first time in a long while. Marcus knew this was just the beginning. He had taken the first step toward changing the culture of the dealership. He was ready to lead with kindness, fairness, and respect, values that he believed would bring success and happiness to everyone involved. Marcus Allen's next visit to the dealership was unlike any other. The morning sun shone brightly as he parked his car quietly a few blocks away. He wanted to enter without drawing too much attention at first, but this time he was ready for what awaited him inside. Marcus had spent the last few weeks preparing carefully, gathering his legal documents, meeting with his advisors, and planning exactly how he would reveal himself as the new owner. When Marcus opened the dealership door, the atmosphere inside was busy and noisy. Salespeople were speaking to customers, phones were ringing, and the smell of fresh coffee mixed with the scent of new cars filled the air. Marcus walked in calmly, his steps steady and purposeful. Almost immediately, Rick Saunders noticed him. Rick's eyes narrowed as he recognized Marcus. The man who had been kicked out weeks ago had returned. But now Rick was even more irritated. "What do you want now?" Rick shouted loudly, moving in front of Marcus and blocking his way. His voice echoed through the showroom, drawing the attention of many employees and customers. Marcus remained calm and spoke in a quiet but firm voice. "I am here to introduce myself. I am the new owner of this dealership." Rick laughed loudly, a harsh, mocking sound. "Owner? You? Don't make me laugh. You don't belong here." Marcus reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. "I have the official papers," he said simply, handing the envelope over to Rick. The room grew silent. The customers stopped talking, and employees gathered near to see what was happening. Rick looked at the documents, his hands trembling slightly as he flipped through them. His confident, arrogant expression faded. His eyes widened in disbelief. "This can't be," he muttered under his breath. One of the senior salespeople who had been watching quietly stepped forward. "Rick, these are real," she said softly. "Marcus Allen is the new owner." Rick's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. He looked around, realizing that everyone was watching him, waiting for his reaction. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Marcus saw the moment and spoke again, his voice calm and clear. "Rick, your behavior in this dealership has been unacceptable. You have treated customers and employees unfairly. Today, I am officially removing you from your position. You are no longer welcome here." Rick opened his mouth to argue but stopped. The weight of the situation was clear. He slowly turned and left the showroom, his head hanging low. The staff remained quiet for a moment, then a wave of murmurs and whispers began. Many of them exchanged glances, relief and hope spreading through the room. Jenna, the young salesperson, who had witnessed many of Rick's harsh moments, felt a surge of happiness. She had waited a long time for change. Marcus turned to the gathered employees. "I am here to build a dealership where respect is the foundation," he said, "where every customer is treated with kindness and every employee is valued. This is a new beginning." His words were met with nods and smiles. Some employees even clapped softly. Marcus felt a warmth in the room, a sign that change was already beginning. After the initial shock, Marcus spent the day talking to the staff. He listened to their stories, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. Many shared how Rick's attitude had made their work difficult. Some had even thought about quitting but stayed because they needed the job. Marcus promised them that under his leadership, the environment would be different. Marcus also met customers who were there that day. Many had heard the rumors about the new owner and were curious. They shared their experiences, some good, many bad, about the dealership. Marcus thanked them for their honesty and assured them that he would work hard to regain their trust. Over the next few weeks, Marcus focused on rebuilding the dealership's culture. He introduced new policies that emphasized respect, fairness, and excellent customer service. He invited all employees to attend workshops on diversity and communication. Jenna and others felt encouraged to speak up and contribute ideas. Marcus made it clear that everyone's voice mattered. The media soon caught wind of the story. The dramatic moment when the rude manager was removed, and the new black owner took charge. Local newspapers and online news sites shared articles about Marcus's leadership and his message of respect and fairness. Marcus declined interviews, but sent a clear message through press releases. Success comes from respect. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. In the weeks that followed, the dealership saw positive changes. Customers noticed the difference and began returning. Sales increased steadily. Employees were happier and more motivated. Marcus's quiet but firm leadership style won respect from everyone. Through it all, Marcus never forgot the painful moment when he was kicked out the first time. It reminded him why he had to fight for change, and why respect must be earned and given to all, no matter who they are. After the dramatic change at the dealership, Marcus Allen knew that the hard work was only beginning. Removing Rick Saunders from his position had sent a strong message, but transforming the culture and reputation of the dealership would take time and real effort. Marcus was determined to make the dealership a place where respect and fairness were the foundation. On his first full day as the official owner and manager, Marcus gathered the entire staff in the showroom. The room buzzed, with quiet conversations as employees took their seats, some curious, some cautious. Marcus stood at the front, calm and confident. He spoke clearly, making sure everyone understood the new direction he wanted for the dealership. He explained that the old way of doing things, where some customers and employees were treated unfairly, was over. From now on, respect and fairness would be the rule. Every customer, no matter who they were, would be welcomed warmly. Every employee would be heard, valued, and supported. Marcus emphasized that the dealership's success depended not just on selling cars, but on building trust and community. The employees listened intently. Jenna, the young salesperson who had often felt overlooked and undervalued, felt a sense of hope for the first time. She realized that Marcus was not just giving empty promises. He was serious about change. Over the next few days, Marcus began making practical changes. He introduced a new training program for the staff focused on customer service, communication, and diversity awareness. He brought in experts to lead workshops where employees learned how to work better together and understand the importance of treating everyone with kindness and respect. These workshops were a new experience for many employees. Some were skeptical at first, especially those who had worked under Rick for years. But Marcus's consistent presence and encouragement helped people open up. Jenna found herself speaking during one session about how it felt to be ignored or judged unfairly. Her honesty inspired others to share their stories. Marcus also set up an anonymous feedback system where employees could share concerns or ideas without fear of punishment. This was a huge change from before, when speaking up could mean trouble. Slowly, the workplace began to feel safer and more welcoming. Meanwhile, Marcus turned his attention to the customers. He knew that many people in the community had stopped coming to the dealership because of bad experiences. To regain their trust, he launched a campaign focused on transparency and fairness. He invited customers to visit, ask questions, and see the changes for themselves. One afternoon, a family walked into the showroom looking for a new car. Marcus personally greeted them, asking about their needs and concerns. He listened carefully and answered all their questions honestly, without any pressure to buy. The family left feeling respected and hopeful. Word began to spread in the community. People talked about the new owner who was changing the dealership for the better. Some came to visit out of curiosity, others because they wanted to give the dealership a second chance. Jenna noticed the difference too. The atmosphere in the showroom was lighter, friendlier. Customers smiled more, employees worked with more enthusiasm, and sales started to improve. Jenna felt proud to be part of the team. At the same time, Marcus kept a close eye on the numbers. He studied sales reports, customer feedback, and employee surveys. The results were encouraging but showed there was still work to do. Some old habits died hard, and occasional complaints still came in. But Marcus faced these challenges with patience and determination. He met regularly with the management team to discuss progress and plan new ways to improve. Marcus encouraged open communication and praised employees who demonstrated positive attitudes and excellent service. His leadership style was firm but fair, and it inspired loyalty. One day, Marcus invited Jenna to join a special team focused on improving customer experience. Jenna was excited and grateful for the opportunity. She took the role seriously, gathering ideas from coworkers and customers alike. Together, they created simple but effective changes: clearer pricing, friendlier greetings, and better follow-up with customers after purchases. Marcus also worked on repairing relationships with local organizations and businesses. He sponsored community events and participated in charity drives, showing that the dealership cared about more than just selling cars. This helped improve the dealership's image and built goodwill. Despite the many changes, Marcus remained humble. He knew that real change took time and effort from everyone. He continued to listen to employees and customers, always looking for ways to do better. As months passed, the dealership began to flourish under Marcus's leadership. Sales increased steadily, customer satisfaction improved, and employees reported higher job satisfaction. The staff felt like a team, united by a shared vision of respect and success. Jenna, once hesitant and afraid, grew confident and happy in her work. She told friends and family about the positive changes and how Marcus had given her a chance to shine. Many employees who had thought about leaving decided to stay, encouraged by the new environment. Marcus's story began to attract attention beyond the local community. Business journals and local news outlets wanted to know more about the man, who had transformed a struggling dealership into a model of respect and fairness. Marcus was careful with media interviews, focusing on the message that respect and kindness were keys to success in business and life. One evening, after a long day, Marcus sat in his office reflecting on how far things had come. He remembered the day Rick had kicked him out, the shock and hurt he had felt. But he also thought about the strength he had found to turn that moment into a powerful lesson and a chance for change. Marcus smiled quietly, knowing that the journey was not over, but that a new era had truly begun. The dealership was no longer just a place to buy cars. It was a community where people were treated with dignity, where fairness and respect were the foundation of every decision. Time moved on, and Marcus Allen's car dealership continued to grow and change in ways no one had expected. What had started as a difficult moment, the day Marcus was kicked out by the old manager, had transformed into a powerful story of hope, change, and success. The community, the employees, and the customers all noticed the difference, and the dealership became known not only for its cars, but for its respect, fairness, and kindness. Marcus was proud of how far they had come, but he also knew that his work as the owner was never truly finished. Leadership was a continuous journey, one that required patience, listening, and constant learning. He understood that success was not just about numbers and profits, but about building relationships and trust. One afternoon, as Marcus sat in his office reviewing the latest sales report, Jenna knocked on the door. She had become one of the dealership's rising stars, a confident salesperson who believed in the company's new mission and values. She smiled as she entered, carrying a folder with customer feedback and suggestions. "Mr. Allen," Jenna said respectfully, "I wanted to share some ideas from our customers and team. They really appreciate the changes you've made, but they also want to see even more improvements." Marcus smiled warmly. He liked that Jenna was taking initiative. "Thank you, Jenna. I'm glad to hear that. Let's hear what they have to say." Jenna explained how customers wanted clearer pricing, more flexible financing options, and a friendlier, more personal experience when they came in. Employees wanted more training and chances to grow in their careers. Marcus listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions. "This is exactly the kind of feedback we need," Marcus said. "We will work on these ideas right away." In the weeks that followed, Marcus and his team implemented many of the suggestions. They made prices more transparent, so customers knew exactly what they were paying for. They expanded financing options to help more people afford their dream cars. And they created new training programs to help employees build skills and advance their careers. These changes made a big difference. Customers felt more comfortable and confident buying cars from the dealership. Employees felt valued and motivated. The positive energy inside the showroom was contagious. Marcus also continued to strengthen the dealership's connection to the community. He partnered with local schools and charities to offer scholarships and support programs. The dealership sponsored local sports teams and hosted family-friendly events, turning the business into a hub of activity and goodwill. One special event was the annual Drive for Dreams charity car show, organized by Marcus and his team. It attracted hundreds of people from the neighborhood and nearby towns. Families came to enjoy food, music, and fun activities while checking out the latest car models. The event raised money for local causes and helped build a sense of unity and pride in the community. As the dealership's reputation grew, so did Marcus's influence. He was invited to speak at business conferences and community events, sharing his story about overcoming prejudice and creating positive change. His message was simple but powerful. Respect, fairness, and kindness are not just moral choices. They are smart business strategies. Despite the success, Marcus remained humble. He never forgot the day Rick Saunders had kicked him out, the moment that had sparked everything. Instead of bitterness, Marcus felt gratitude. for the opportunity to prove himself and to make a difference. One day, a reporter asked Marcus about the secret to his success. Marcus smiled and said, "The secret is listening. Listening to people, understanding their needs, and treating them like human beings. When you do that, everything else falls into place." Jenna, who was standing nearby, nodded. She had seen that truth every day in the dealership. She had grown from a hesitant newcomer into a confident leader, inspired by Marcus's example. The dealership continued to thrive, but more importantly, it became a place where everyone, customers and employees alike, felt welcome and respected. Marcus's leadership had created a new kind of business, one that valued people as much as profits. Years later, Marcus looked back at his journey with pride. The day he was kicked out by Rick seemed like a distant memory now, a painful moment that had changed his life forever. That moment had pushed him to fight for change, to stand up for what was right, and to lead with courage and kindness. Marcus knew that his story was not just about a car dealership. It was about hope, resilience, and the power of respect to transform lives. And he was proud to have been part of that transformation. The dealership was no longer just a place to buy cars. It was a symbol of progress and possibility, a reminder that with determination and kindness, anyone could overcome obstacles and make a difference.